Did you know the USDA just warned that grocery prices could jump up to 70% before the holidays? 70%. Imagine walking into your local store in November and seeing a $2 bag of rice suddenly selling for $6 if it's even there at all. Picture half-empty shelves, a few dented cans, and price tags that make you wonder if you accidentally wandered into a luxury store. And you're standing there thinking, I should have stocked up when I had the chance. Well, here's the thing. That chance, it's right now. August 2025 is the last month before the big spike hits. I'm not here to peddle fear. I'm here because the numbers are real, and they're ugly. Between failing crops, supply chain breakdowns, and global unrest, certain foods are about to vanish from shelves or shoot up in price faster than we've ever seen. Today, I'm revealing the 13 foods you must stockpile this month if you want to beat the shortages, avoid the price gouging, and keep your family fed no matter what's coming. Stay with me to the end, because the last few items on this list are the ones most people forget, and those might be the ones that save you when everyone else is scrambling. Rice, especially white rice. You've probably always seen rice as that affordable pantry hero, versatile, easy, and reliable. But here's the real concern. Climate experts say global rice yields could drop by around 10% for every 1°C increase in average temperature. And just an hour over 35°C during flowering obliterates the crop entirely. That's more than hypothetical. It's happening now. In 2024, Bangladesh was hit by massive floods that destroyed 1.1 million metric tons of rice, prompting emergency imports and pushing food prices higher. So what does that mean for your kitchen? Supply is shrinking while demand keeps rising, and prices aren't just inching up, they're climbing fast. White rice, though, has this incredible secret. When you store it right, think Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, food-grade buckets, it can last 25 to 30 years without going. That's not sci-fi, that's science and prepper wisdom colliding. Remember back in 2020 when a 20-pound bag of white rice cost under $10? That convenience might soon feel like luxury. Come winter, that same bag could easily hit $25 or more if these climate patterns continue and personal budgets start to feel that pinch. It's a simple choice. Stock up now, and you're investing in future security for your family and peace of mind, not panic. Orzo, barley and other grains. Once rice starts soaring in price or vanishing off shelves, that's when everyone scrambles for alternatives like orzo, barley, quinoa. And here's the hard truth. Demand for these substitutes is surging just as their supplies can't keep up. Take quinoa, for instance. It's becoming wildly popular, projected to reach around $1.42 billion in market size in 2025 in the seeds category alone, growing at over 10% annually. That 10% growth rate tells you people are buying in bulk, and health food stores are running low. Meanwhile, barley isn't exactly plentiful either. The USDA's latest report shows barley supplies for the 2024-25 marketing year dropped by nearly 1 million bushels, with imports sluggish compared to previous months. Not only that, but global coarse grain stock forecasts were revised slightly, lowering barley stocks in several countries. So picture this. You decide to pivot away from rice mid-crisis. Suddenly everyone else is doing the same, digging into those pantry staples, grains that don't just fill you up but give comfort when real food runs scarce. And once shortages hit, these grain alternatives become alarmingly expensive. I still remember loading up on barley and couscous at good prices post-pandemic. Now you'd pay double. It's not some abstract food fad, it's real grain economics hitting home. If this tier of staples blows out, you'll be scrambling for dinner creativity or paying for it in grocery store sticker shock. 3. Cooking oil, especially olive and sunflower oil. Alright, here's where things get spicy, or oily actually. We all assume we can just grab our favorite cooking oil at the store, right? But right now, government forecasts and market data tell a different story. Sunflower oil prices in the U.S. have shot up to about $22 per metric ton in Q2 2025, up sharply due to erratic harvests and our heavy reliance on imports from places like Ukraine and Russia. Throw in extreme weather and instability and suddenly your pantry staple becomes a luxury. At the same time, soybean oil, another common go-to, is being drained from grocery shelves faster than usual. The USDA says over half of U.S.-produced soybean oil in 2025-26 is destined for biofuel, pushing food-related supply into a tight corner. That policy push may be green for energy, but it's red for your grocery bill. Now imagine heading to make dinner and realizing that frying oil for a family meal is now nearly double what you paid, or gone altogether. My neighbor, a small cafe owner, told me last month they're considering switching to duck fat if they can even find it. That's how crazy the shift has become. Cooking oil isn't just about frying or baking. It's one of the most versatile daily use items we take for granted, until it vanishes or doubles in price. That's why grabbing a couple of extra bottles now isn't overreacting. It's thoughtful prep. 4. Beans. Both canned and dried. Let's be honest, beans are the kitchen's unsung heroes. Hearty, affordable, and packed with protein, they stretch every dollar. But here's the real talk. Dried bean prices have dropped recently, but that doesn't mean they're safe. According to USDA NAS, the simple average grower price for dry beans from September 2024 through May 2025 was 36.26 per hundredweight, a full 16% lower than the year before. That sounds encouraging, until you consider what's next. Global demand for pulses is surging. The USDA's Vegetables and Pulses Outlook shows dry bean availability rose 30% year over year, approaching 7 pounds per person, while lentils almost doubled. That captures a growing appetite for vegan meals, for cheap protein, for emergency prep all at once. So picture this, you buy a big bag of dry beans now, and prices are good but demand is steadily climbing, and supply could flip fast. The same goes for canned beans too. In past disruptions, canned staples vanished overnight, and prices spiked while families scrambled for protein. I remember my aunt, tight on budget, raving that in one crisis, she paid nearly double for a can of chili beans because the store shelves were bare and she needed dinner. That kind of pinch doesn't just hit your wallet, it hits dinner time and stress levels. Stocking up on beans now isn't overreacting, it's smart. Whether you're cooking chili, burritos, or soup, you'll be glad you planned ahead before the next shelf-clearing wave hits. Canned tuna and other shelf-stable meats. Let's get real. When fresh meat is out of reach or grocery runs feel like a scavenger hunt, those sturdy cans in your pantry become heroes. Take tuna, simple, rich in protein, and no fridge needed. But behind that can is a world shifting fast. The U.S. canned tuna market clocked in at around $3.1 billion in 2024. With projections climbing steadily at over 2. Globally, canned tuna demand is soaring, expected to grow from $11.15 billion in 2025 to nearly $17.8 billion by. That's not just numbers. It means more households are grabbing whatever's left, and supply is getting tight. Now, prices aren't the only concern. Industry experts warn that new tariffs on steel could jack up prices on canned foods including tuna, beans, and Spam by up to 15%. The real blow, many of us rely on these staples during rough times. Suddenly, what felt cheap and comforting starts to feel fragile. I remember one late grocery trip where I stood staring at the canned aisle watching prices climb, mouths open in disbelief. That's not panic, it's the gut punch moment you realize tomorrow's meals could cost today's rent. Having a few extra cans of tuna, chicken, or sardines isn't overkill. It's practical backup lean protein you can rely on when the world decides to charge more or cut it out altogether. And right now, that reliability is starting to cost more than it used to. 6. Sugar. Here's something you might not expect. Sugar is quietly becoming pricier, and not just a little. The USDA's Economic Research Service projects that U.S. sugar production for the 2025-26 fiscal year will fall to about 9.2. Beet sugar production is anticipated to drop around 3%, even though cane sugar sees a small gain. So overall, supply is tightening despite consumer demand staying steady. But here's the kicker. Because of long-standing government policy, U.S. sugar still costs significantly more than world market rates, almost double in some analyses. One white paper reports U.S. sugar prices in 2024 were about 99% higher than global prices thanks to import restrictions and domestic quotas. That price gap doesn't just disappear when production dips, it gets worse. Imagine reaching for that bag of sugar to bake with, can or preserve, and noticing it cost noticeably more than usual. My mom shared how last holiday season, a 5-pound bag jumped nearly 25% in 2 months, just as she was getting ready to bake pies for visitors. That kind of sticker shock isn't theoretical, it's your Christmas kitchen. So stocking up on sugar today isn't overkill. It's protecting your annual cooking budget, preserving that sweet comfort when prices climb or supply tightens. Don't wait until your coffee, canning, or holiday traditions get hit by endless price rotation. 7. Canned meat. If you've been to the grocery store lately, you've probably noticed the canned meat aisle looking a little thinner than it used to. And it's not your imagination. The USDA's latest cold storage report shows U.S. frozen beef and pork reserves dropped by over 10% compared to last year, while poultry stocks have been hit by ongoing outbreaks of highly pathogenic avian influenza, a virus that's wiped out more than 92 million birds since. Every time that happens, it ripples into canned and shelf-stable meat production. Here's the thing. In a crisis, whether that's a hurricane knocking out power, a trucking strike slowing deliveries, or a sudden jump in fresh meat prices, canned meat becomes one of the first protein sources people grab, and FEMA openly recommends keeping ready-to-eat canned protein in your emergency kit, because it lasts years without refrigeration. I still remember talking to a neighbor after the Texas freeze and their family lived for 3 days on nothing but Spam, Vienna sausages, and peanut butter, because every store was cleaned out within hours of the blackout. It's a simple truth. When meat prices spike or fresh supply runs low, the cheap, reliable cans disappear. Right now, a can of chicken or tuna might seem ordinary, maybe even boring, but when your fridge is dark, your stove's cold, and stores are empty, it's the kind of boring you'll be grateful you stocked ahead of time. Canned vegetables. Here's a reality check. We might take canned veggies for granted, but what if next time you open the pantry and there's nothing but dust? In 2024, U.S. per capita availability of processed vegetables, things like canned corn, green bean, tomato paste, dropped to 95.6 pounds per person, hitting the lowest level since records began in 1970. That's not subtle. Global price spikes and tightening supply don't broadcast themselves. They just show up in empty aisles. Seriously, picture this. You're prepping meals and reach for a can of tomatoes or corn and nothing's there. No soup base, no side dish, and suddenly, dinner feels impossible. FEMA doesn't just suggest canned vegetables loosely. They flat out list ready-to-eat vegetables as essential emergency kit items. That's because when power's out, fresh produce is out. Your fallback are those cans, reliable and shelf-stable. I still remember last winter visiting my neighbor. Their power went out for days. The only meal they had was canned corn and green beans. Simple, yes, but it was all that stood between them and going hungry in the cold. Those cans were heroes. Your family's nutrition isn't about fancy salads in crises. It's about nutrients when fresh options vanish. Stocking up on a variety of canned vegetables now isn't hoarding. It's safeguarding real meals under real pressure. Coffee and tea. Let's talk about your morning ritual. Coffee or tea, things you trust to get you started. But right now, both are getting unexpectedly expensive. Coffee has been hit from every angle. Wholesale Arabica prices peaked at 4-day pive, and ground roast coffee has climbed to a record $7.25 per pound. Add to that a fresh 50% tariff on Brazilian coffee imports, and Brazil supplies up to consumption, and you're looking at even higher prices soon. Turn News 21, turn News 26, turn News 27. Industry pros are already feeling the pinch. Some small cafes have quietly raised drink prices by 50 cents, blaming tariffs, climate-hit harvests, and shipping delays. MarketWatch even reports that some Americans are stockpiling coffee, paying $15 or more for specialty bags to avoid paying even more tomorrow. Turn News 29. Tea isn't safe either. U.S. imports reached around 500 and volume jumped over 14% year-over-year in early 2025, especially from tea giants like India and China. But tariffs are piling on too. A baseline 10% duty on all imports, and a staggering $14 and hair at 145% on Chinese tea, threaten to push prices even higher. Turn News. Meanwhile, climate shifts are shrinking yields, especially in places like India and East Africa, where just a 1°C rise can cut production by 5% or more, and shipping disruptions in the Red Sea only add to the cost burden. Turn News Church 17. So what does this mean for your pantry? You could soon pay double for your morning cuppa, or find some favorites gone completely. A few extra pounds of coffee or tins of tea now is less about indulgence, and more about preserving that daily comfort when the prices soar. Pasta. Let's talk pasta. Our go-to comforting staple that stretches $1 and fills dinner plates with ease. But here's what's starting to shift. Europe's tough grain season is now filtering into our pasta aisles, while US-specific data is still rolling in. The USDA reports that US long-grain rice supplies are down nearly 5%, driving a broader scramble for grains globally. That ripple effect hits wheat and semolina used for pasta too. And historically, when wheat prices climb, so does pasta. Even a few years back, when drought swept through the Midwest, pasta prices spiked 15% almost overnight. Imagine heading to dinner prep only to find penne or spaghetti running low or priced so high it hurts. Pasta isn't just food, it's emotional comfort when life's hectic. Stocking up now, while shelves are full and prices are reasonable, is more than smart. It's preserving dinners made easy when grocery prices go wild. Peanut butter. Peanut butter's more than a sandwich spread. It's shelf-stable protein, kid-friendly fuel, and sometimes a secret ingredient in tough times. The numbers tell the story. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that peanut butter has nearly doubled in price since 1997, from around 2.48 per pound to roughly 4.81 in 2024, outpacing inflation year after year. That means if you've ever felt those rising cost bites in your pantry budget, you weren't imagining things. Meanwhile, UGA Extension notes that despite weather threats and storm delays, U.S. peanut production is actually up, projected around 2.95 million metric tons but higher production doesn't always translate to lower prices, especially when demand, especially for peanut butter, grows too. That jar in your pantry isn't just spread, it's backup. When grocery trips feel risky, having stashes of peanut butter means you'll still have protein, snacks, and peace of mind without paying a surprise premium later. Salt and seasonings. Salt and spices might seem small, but they carry huge weight in our cooking and increasingly in our budget. Gourmet salts alone are a booming business. The global market is projected at $2.38 billion in 2025 with a nearly 10% growth rate through. That tells you something. People are buying, and not just regular table salt. Clean label dining, artisanal meals, and grilling culture are pushing demand hard. But spices, now that's where the real pressure is. Black pepper, at the heart of millions of kitchens, has already tripled in price since early 2023. That's not due to tariffs, it's because tropical producers like India and Vietnam are losing the trade and weather battle, with more farmers quitting pepper for more stable crops. Add looming U.S. tariffs on spices up to 50%. And suddenly your spice rack feels shaky. Imagine your everyday meals turning bland or overpriced. Lack of seasoning isn't just about flavor, it feels like meals are shrinking. Now's the moment to stock up. Seal spices in airtight jars, keep them crisp, and don't let flavor go extinct when prices spike. Before we wrap up, remember, these shortages and price jumps aren't just headline. They're creeping into our grocery stores right now, and the window to stock up is closing fast. You don't have to panic buy, but you do have to be smart. Start small, add 1 or 2 extra items to every shopping trip. Focus on the foods you and your family actually eat, and store them right so they last. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button. It tells me to keep bringing you real, no-nonsense prepping tips. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update, because the next shortage might be one we haven't even seen coming yet. Stay ready, stay calm, and I'll see you in the next one.